Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Okay, so a beautiful member of our community reached out to us to cover this topic for her. She said, "How do I find my first client? The usual ways are just not working for me." So I'm guessing that that is happening for a lot of you out there. Maybe it's not your first client, maybe it's the second and third and fourth client, and the usual ways aren't working for you. So today we wanted to share with you what has worked for us way back when, and even how maybe then to repurpose some of those ideas for this current landscape that we find ourselves in.
So, even if you've been in business for a while and you've got a bit of a consistent hum of clients, stick around because there might be something new that you haven't considered.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, the older ways that we were using can be repurposed. We can think about them, we can twist them around in little ways to make them work in today's current landscapes. So we want to share those with you.
Yeah. And we both, once upon a time, had fledgling design businesses that didn't have a consistent stream of income coming our way. We didn't have people knocking on the door. There was nobody really. We didn't really know that many people. We had to go out and get it. We had to go and find people who wanted to work with us.
Absolutely. And we didn't have the current landscape. We didn't have Instagram. And we didn't have half of what is happening right now for graphic design businesses. We are so excited by the opportunity that graphic design businesses have today because we didn't have any of that. It was literally, it was our backyard. Or maybe we'll extend to the next capital city or the capital city in the next state because we were willing to go that far. But it was wherever our legs were willing to walk, literally, was where we would find our clients. So there's so much more opportunity now.
And the theme that you'll hear today is that we had to take action. We had to actually take action, and the word attraction has action in it. That's our business theme for the year. You may have heard us talk about that already or seen it on Instagram. But we suspect that where some designers are going wrong is they first of all, are putting all their eggs in one basket. So they're putting a lot of time and effort into something like Instagram, for example. It's, a designer's playground because it's visual and beautiful. And I think if I actually share and build my audience or build up my numbers there, then the people will come. The people will come. It'll translate into actual projects. But the followers might come, but are they actually the right people? That's what you need to consider as well. You might have a following, but we've noticed that a lot of designers have a lot of other designers following them. Is that your ideal client audience? Then it seems to be closely followed by content creators. So designers get a lot of content creators following them, the social media people, the marketing people, so that they can grab beautiful ideas, so that they can grab beautiful little quotes or things that they can repost. So are they the sort of people who are going to be knocking on your door, emailing you, reaching out?
Yeah, not necessarily, especially if they are in the same industry as you and wanting to do the same things as you, or just wanting to create that beautiful content or snatch that beautiful content like Chris was just saying. So they then quickly become the wrong audience. It's wonderful to have all of those followers, but if they aren't the right audience, then we're not speaking directly to the people who want to work with us. They just want to admire us and follow us and be our fans, which is lovely. It's wonderful. But we want people who are actually wanting to work with us. So we have to actually slightly shift the messaging and really make sure we understand who we're talking to when we're on those platforms.
So it's really important that you look at who your ideal audience is, focus on them, how they're going to find out about you. This is the kind of work that we do in the Academy. We have several modules just dedicated to unpacking who your ideal audience is and how you're going to find them. And also about tracking them because, if you're not tracking your efforts and you're just throwing everything at Instagram, but you're not seeing results, then that is not time well spent, is it?
Yeah.
But it could be Instagram, right? But if you're not tracking it, you don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we thought we'd do today is share with you some of the ways that we attracted clients in our early businesses. And let's maybe unpack them a little bit and work out ways that we can twist them into being really helpful tools for right now.
Yeah. So a lot of you have heard my story in that I started my business straight out of uni. Straight after I finished my degree, I went into business. And I really have to reiterate here that I was really unconnected with business. I didn't have business connections. I didn't have even a short list of people I could target. It was all brand new, starting from scratch and feeling very inexperienced going into that. So what we did, and it was just a really simple first thing that we did, was we mentioned to everybody we knew that we'd started business. So it was myself and another business partner. We just let everybody know we've started business. And we weren't even on Facebook back then. There was no social media then. I don't know if Facebook existed in 1999. That's when I started my business. Anyway.
Well, we weren't on there. I certainly wasn't either at that time either. So no.
Yeah, we just spread the word, let people know this is what I'm doing. And that was scary in itself because people, are they taking me seriously as a business owner? Well, perhaps not, but I'm just going to tell them anyway. I'm doing design services. If you know of anybody who needs business cards, if you know of anybody who needs signage or a logo or stationery, this is what I do. This is what we can do. So we just let people know. And I was having a conversation with my neighbor, and it turns out that his partner worked at a very big company. And he said, she works in marketing. She works in marketing there. Do you want to speak to her about this? I think she needs people like you. And I said, yes, please. So I went in and had a little chat with her. I hadn't really talked to her much before, but it was just about having the conversation in the yard, watering the plants or whatever I was doing at the time. The conversation started. He said, what are you up to now? You finished your degree? What's going on? Like putting the bins out, whatever it was. And then the conversation unfurled because I was brave enough to say, I'm doing this and we're looking for this particular kind of client. So that was our first big client, and it was a blue chip kind of client. It was a well-known client in our area. So it got us off the ground running. And I can tell you now, the kind of work we did there was so basic. It was so ridiculously basic work, but just having that name on our books really helped. And we worked our way up. It was like, we did a little in-house newsletter. I think that was the first thing that we did. It was just really simple stuff. We weren't getting the serious stuff, a marketing agency or
they were testing
design.
you.
They were testing us.
They were testing. Yeah. What can these girls do? Let's just have a play for a little while, and then you proved yourself, right? And it just exploded. Yeah.
That's right. So there's other things that we did, which we'll get into, but how would that apply to today? How would that apply? So still the word of mouth and talking to your neighbour.
Yeah, over the fence. Yeah,
over the
or
fence.
Through the cracks, wherever.
Yeah. Also, you've got Facebook. You've got other social platforms where you can spread the word and let everybody know, hey, I'm doing this now. Do you know anybody who needs design work? I'm available. I'd love to help. I'm so passionate about this. Infuse your passion. Where experience is lacking, infuse passion for design, passion for service. That's how you start.
Absolutely. Passion for the type of work that you want to attract. So when you're talking about your work, it's really clear. You need to have a really clear vision on the type of work that you want. So we really believe in attracting the right work as well as much as attracting clients. So when you're talking about it, make sure that you give enough information, enough of an overview so people can match you to the right people. So they can go, oh, that's the type of work that would suit this business or that business, and I'll let them know. Because you want to be able to manage the influx of, people knocking on your door. Let's be really optimistic and go, that's the type of work I want. Yes, you can come in, and no, that's not quite the right fit for me. So make sure you set it up from the get-go. So when you're starting to talk about your business, talk about the type of work you do, the type of work you're passionate about, so that translates to whoever you're talking to. And it lands. Yeah, you want it to land so they get it. They get the type of work that you do. So they're not just recommending anybody to you.
So imagine sending a message, a personalized message to everybody in your Facebook contacts list. Does that scare you? Does that scare the absolute pants off you right now? It's like, what? How could I do that? Imagine telling everybody what you're doing and to follow your journey. And do they know anybody? Because who do they know? You don't know who they know, but who do they know? You just never know. It's like this neighbor I was talking to, their partner was in marketing. I had no idea that they had that role. So don't make
That's
assumptions.
Don't make assumptions. That's it. And also, because you never know who people know, my mum taught me, be kind and caring always, because you never know how that person's going to come back into your life later down the track. So always be putting your best foot forward and putting the right message forward whenever you're talking about business. So, because you never know, someone might go, I knew you as a 12-year-old. Oh, hello. Now you're doing this. And there's that teeny tiny connection that they had when you were a 12-year-old. And now all of a sudden it's come full circle and you potentially could be doing their design work for them. So yeah, that's just a karmic thing that I like to think about. So always, you never know. And even if you're telling your story to a whole heap of people and nothing happens initially and it's slow going, you never know when that might come back again. Say you might have a conversation at the coffee shop today, but you might not actually get contacted for 8 months because it was such an engaging, beautiful conversation, and it triggers a thought when that person's having a conversation with their marketing manager. I know, and they'll make the match. So yeah, always be prepared to tell your story.
Having an elevator pitch is really important too. So that, that barbecue pitch, you're somewhere, you're social, you run into somebody at a cafe that you haven't seen for a long time and they ask you what you're up to and what do you do. And that's something we help designers with in the academy as well, making sure you've got all those scripts ready to go and they can just roll off the tongue and you're not put on the spot and you can be effective in those moments when you do have an unexpected situation pop up.
I love that, Chris. That's it. It's effective communication about what you do. That's the key. It's making sure it really does land. So yeah, that's it.
So don't make assumptions. Don't think, I know nobody. You don't know. Your dance teacher, whom you may be Facebook friends with, may have a parent or a sibling who has a multi-7-figure business with a team of 50. Who knows? Who knows what's going on with people's families and their friends and their connections, and they might go, wow, that's really cool. I love that you're doing that. I actually do know somebody.
Yeah.
So be brave. It's a brave action step.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much courage that you had speaking over the back fence, Chris, that day to get that first client. That's very courageous. Love it. Yeah. Okay, the other things that you can do, I came from, you would also know my story if you've been listening in from the get-go with our podcast. I came from advertising. So I came from Sydney advertising agency, and I was, unlike Chris, it was a fledgling business, but it had already been going for about a year. In the very early stages of my business, there were 2 other partners and myself. We were trying different ways to get the business off the ground. And at that time where we all said, let's do this, I wasn't in a financial position to do it straight away. I had to give it another year before I could leave my job and then go to them. But what that did, which was wonderful, was gave me lots more experience with regard to the structure of business and advertising and targeting audiences and things like that. So when I arrived to my business, we were 3 young girls going, oh my gosh, how do we get clients? My strength was direct mail advertising. And so we got to it. We got to targeting people specifically. We looked at the businesses that we wanted to work with. We found out the people who were in a position of power at those businesses, the people who could make decisions, the people who would want to talk to us and who would be able to sign off on a contract to work with us. So we found out who they were. And then we went about working out ways that we could actually work with them. So we were like, okay, what could we offer them? And so we specifically told them a story of how we'll work with them. So we directly targeted them, spoke to the person so they felt really seen. And back in the day, that was really important to get a package that was to that person, hand delivered to that person. Here it is. This is the type of work we do. This is the passions that we have for the work that we do. This is how we see us elevating your business. And almost 9 out of 10 times we got a phone call because it was so strategically targeted that we were like, yes, we want to work with you. And they were seen. They were really seen. So how could we do that today, in today's environment where there's a lot of social media and a lot of people are depending on the social media platforms like Instagram and LinkedIn and Pinterest and things like that. How can we target our audience and make them feel seen and make them feel special?
That's exactly right. And, the good old direct mail is not used that much anymore because it was just the main way that creative service providers would get work prior to social media. So we would send out postcards. That was our first little promo, was a little postcard series, and we couldn't afford to do it right up front. We had to do things like go to networking functions. Can you imagine back in the day going to networking functions, like any kind of business function? We slotted them in. We measured it. We went, okay, we're committing to doing X amount of functions every single month, and we cross them off when we've done them. Like, hey, we've done our 3. Whew, okay, we've done our duty. But until we had a little bit of money coming into the business, we couldn't afford printing because we didn't really have digital printing back then unless we did it on our own laser or inkjet printer. And so we were waiting so we could get our business cards and all our things, and we got it all printed on the one sheet all together. And we got these little postcards done. And they were really powerful. They were really effective little postcards. And they weren't, jaw-dropping creativity. We actually share them in the academy. It's like something behind the scenes that we'll share in the academy. Those postcards that Chris used to get clients, which actually worked, and what they said. And we were like Don said, we didn't want to send them to everybody, and we wanted to make sure they were the kind of people we wanted to work with. So we went on little hunting expeditions. We'd go around in the car, we'd make a little day of it, maybe get some lunch or something, and we'd drive around areas and go, ooh, that business, and we'd get their details and address, and we get excited about it and think about what we'd love to do. We'd visualize it. We'd love to do their signage, or we'd love to do their business cards, or whatever it was, because there was a lot of stationery happening back in the day when we were doing it. It was brochures, business cards, and that sort of thing.
It was print. It was all print.
Yeah.
Print. Yeah.
So it was very uplifting to go around and do these little journeys to see who could we help, who could we serve, and then target them. And we took it a step further, because maybe our promotion wasn't as successful as yours, Dom, because we had to follow up with a phone call, which was scary as anything. We'd take a deep breath and, okay, let's do this. Let's follow up. Did you receive the postcard that we sent? This is Chris. I'm from, X Design Studio. We'd love to work with you. We do this, and this, and make that phone call. And that was really scary. And sometimes we would get a really dismissive response, even a rude response. But sometimes it was like they're opening the door right up, and they were excited, and they were like, yes, I did get that. Now, where did I put that? And they were excited and they wanted to meet. So that was the next step. Make a meeting, go and talk to them, show them our portfolio, because we lugged this big thing around, this big portfolio around.
Remember the portfolio? Oh my gosh, that so brings back memories flooding in, where you're trying to look the part. You got your good gear on and, your heels and the big portfolio. Oh, that's so funny. But Chris is right. You do have to follow up with a phone call. I mean, whether they responded to us or we called them first, it would have been either or. But because there's that connection, they were excited to come on board and work with you. So you do have to be courageous, and you do have to follow through. It's not just, woohoo, we've got this gorgeous thing, we're going to drop it off and hope for the best and hope they call you, because that's not always going to be the case. The other thing is, you've got to be really careful. If you are going to be doing this, there will be gatekeepers. There will be beautiful staff that are there to support the decision maker. So they come in the form of receptionist or PA or whatever. And that's the person's gatekeeper. So if a beautiful direct marketing piece lands with the gatekeeper then makes a decision whether or not it gets through to the person. That's when it's really critical that there's this element of it being that next level personal, so that it's almost like remiss if it doesn't make it through to the intended person. Because if you get it through to the intended person, then you really have got a good shot of talking to them when you need to call them, when you need to get that courage to call them. Or hopefully they'll call you. So it's important that you do your homework. You do your recce, like Chris was saying. She's driving around, doing the research, knowing what she wanted to do, then finding out the people's names. We did all of those things as well. And so it's really important to just make sure you do know the person that a direct mail piece needs to arrive to. That's really, really important. You've got to try and weave around the gatekeepers to make sure it gets to them. Yeah.
That's really important when you're targeting larger businesses. And I think we were too intimidated to target large businesses when we first started out in business. So we targeted the more mums and dads businesses, the sole trader type businesses. So we actually just put the name of the business in there and just hope that it got through to the right person. And it did. Oftentimes it did. And it was successful. That first 2 years of business, really that postcard campaign was what brought in the most business for us. Simple little postcards, people. That's it. It's a no-brainer, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how would that apply today? How would that apply in today's landscape?
I was thinking research would be so much easier today because people really love to tell an about story for their business. So if you're going to jump onto their website and find a little bit about the business, it's actually really easy to do. It's really easy to see in their Instagram what's going on for them. And this is how I get so excited about the real close match, the niche and the real target that you can have, because you really do understand who the potential client is, what their mission is, what their values are, what their ethos is, and you can really speak to that and really understand it. And the person's usually there front and center going, this is who I am, this is my business, and this is my team. And then you've got a beautiful access into the person's team. So it can be a little bit easier, I feel, now to find that out. So that's great. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with postcard campaign today, right here, today, right now. There's nothing wrong with that. It's beautiful because that's a bit of a lost art. So I think a lot of clients will be excited about receiving something that has been sent directly to them, and that it is a printed thing that they can touch and feel and turn over, because that's not happening as much in the landscape today. So you will stand out just because you're doing something that nobody else is doing, really. Not that we believe anyway. We're seeing a lot of marketing that's digital marketing, but we're not seeing a lot of direct mail printed marketing. And we think that that's something that's really underestimated in today's landscape.
And it's funny, there's something really human about getting a tactile, beautiful paper stock or whatever it is, and feeling it. And even if you handwrite their details, their name, that humanistic touch is there, and it's a really beautiful thing. Don't underestimate the power of that as well. And you've got LinkedIn as well. That was another thing. Like, you can find people's details and their actual position descriptions in LinkedIn. That's wonderful. Another way that you could do it, if you're really starting out and your budget is super, super low, like mine was for marketing, like you're thinking, how am I even going to afford to get some postcards done? Start developing beautiful relationships with people through your socials. So in Instagram, you know you want to work with them, right? You've seen this business and you're interacting with them in a very genuine way. And then something comes up in one of their stories and you respond to it. And then you've got a little conversation going. And then it's like, I would love to help you with your branding. I would love to help you with your social media presence. I would love to help you with your website. I have so many ideas and I would love to hop on a call with you, or I'd love for you to see my work. Here it is. Like, even if they're not following you, just you can reach out that way as well, in a very genuine, non-sleazy kind of way. It's meaningful.
It is so meaningful, so beautiful. I love that ability that we don't have to get too deep and too detailed, but we just need to be a really great listener and really observant and be able to see those opportunities where we can engage in an authentic way. So that's definitely a big part of what we believe a marketing strategy should be today. On the not being able to afford print, one of the things that we used to do in our business a lot, we had a relationship with our printer where whenever we did a client project, we would actually speak to our client and our printer and say, can we piggyback on this run? And so we would actually get a piggyback. So we would get whatever was going to be cut off. So usually a sheet will have some excess. And we'd say, what's the excess on this job? And our printer became really, really good at knowing whenever there's a decent excess that we could probably piggyback on. And he'd say, there's going to be an excess of this size. What can you do with that? And we'd be like, oh, we could do a little brochure with that. We could do a little book with that. We could do this with that. And we'd always get permission from our client, and then we'd play, and we'd have this excess that we would get pretty much for free because it was going to be thrown away. It was going to literally land cut off on the floor at the printers. So we were always thinking, how can we maximize our ability to be able to speak to our clients, and where can we have really beautifully printed work? And our printers started to become a bit of a collaborator with us on that. So great relationships with your printers if you are doing print-based work. Great relationships with your clients because they get excited for you. It's like, yes, absolutely. So that's something that I'd really like you to consider if you are a print-based design business. Yeah.
Because if you are a print-based design business, it makes sense to use print-based promotion, right? To promote so that you can really show off. And you have the luxury of beautiful quality digital printing these days as well, which probably came into our careers about 5 years into our businesses. And it was very exciting, but it was very limited. It was like, yeah, you got your glossy gloss or your glossy gloss, which can be really fun.
Yeah, or gloss. Yeah. Yeah.
Which can be fun, to use a bit of gloss sometimes, but it was, not always what we had in mind. But nowadays, there's just so many options with very short runs, small runs. So you could actually do 5 or 10 of these things and just get them printed.
Absolutely. Yeah, it doesn't have to be expensive. And if you could just do one at a time. You could go, I'm going after that person, that business, that's the client that I want. So I'm just going to do that one thing, and you could really tailor it and make it a smaller investment. So yeah, absolutely. Make sure that you're not cutting yourself short and things like that, but there are always ways around reaching out to people in a really intimate way where they can be really seen, and it's not just a great big group thing, a great big group email or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So have you ever done that? Have you ever actually reached out to somebody, direct reach out, or you're always waiting for people to reach out to you? Like even in the DMs, like are you saying, I would just love to help you? Yeah. That's just a beautiful thing to say, to offer. And these are the ways I can help you. I'm so excited about your business. I think there's so much potential there for this beautiful brand or this beautiful image or whatever it is that you do, or this beautiful website, whatever it is that you do.
Yeah. And be courageous. That's the key. Be courageous. You've got so much to share, and it's okay to say, here I am, and this is what I'd like to share with you. Just do it. Just be courageous. Yeah.
Yeah. And infuse your passion for them and their business and for what you can do. Infuse it. Yeah. So after the little postcard campaign, we used that for a couple of years. We were able to level up and do some other kinds of promotions. And eventually we had a very expensive to produce company profile. It was like a portfolio / about us. It was really a story that it told. And we had a custom envelope done, and it was very fancy printing. And I actually thought it was like a couple of dollars per unit. And so that's why we held back sending it to that many people, because we'd be very selective about who received this. But I was having coffee with my old business partner, and she said, no, it was like $15 per unit.
Yeah.
And I was like,
it was hand-stitched.
Okay.
It was stunning. I believe that, Chris. I'm like, it's so beautiful. I still have one of your beautiful promotional pieces. It was next level stunning because of the stitch. It was sewn, and it was just absolutely beautiful. It was embossed. It had all the bells and the whistles, as well as telling the story and really reiterating that you are an authority in this area, and it showed that you were really highly capable of transforming the clients you were targeting. So it was really a beautiful, really effective piece of communications. And it did cost you a little bit, but that's okay. You waited until you had the funds in the business to be able to do that. So, it's about small steps. Do what you can afford and build up to that later down the track.
Yeah, before we got our custom envelopes, we did custom wrapping paper, and we wrap up the profile and send it like that. And that was really beautiful and fun too. So have fun with it as well. That's really important.
Yeah.
Let your personality shine through, let your design aesthetics shine through, and really showcase what you can do with it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then before long, you'll have people who will become ambassadors for you, and they will be telling your story for you. And, our first port of call for ambassadors is our mums and dads, our aunties, our family, and our friends. And we, again, want to reiterate, make sure that your story is clear, that you are communicating the type of client you want to work with and the type of work you want to do. And make sure you have these conversations regularly with the people who are your ambassadors, so that when they are really confidently, happily telling your story and you're not there, they're telling the right story. So just make sure that you get them to pass on the right information. And they will, because I know I've done it for many of my friends. I will tell their story and it'll gush from me. And I don't require confidence because I'm being an ambassador for somebody else. I can confidently tell it without any emotion or any connection to the outcome. So that's what an ambassador will do for you. They will tell your story, hopefully eloquently and hopefully passionately and hopefully accurately, so that then that will land and the type of people that you do want will come to you.
Yeah. So you're creating something, start small, measure it, track it. Don't just throw it out into the universe and then hope for the best and close your eyes and, ignore it. It's like you've got to follow up. So track it as well. We have systems for that we share in the Design and Prosper Academy. It's very important that you can measure it, because what can be measured can be managed. There's so much truth in that. You've got to measure it.
So much truth. Absolutely. Yeah. And when we are measuring things, we are taking out assumptions, because we might assume that Instagram is the best platform for us. And then when we actually start measuring, we see, oh my goodness, LinkedIn was phenomenal for conversions for me. Or that direct mail piece that I did, it's 100% conversion. Wow, that's where my energies need to go. So measuring enables you to be really, really clear and throw assumption out the window. You'll know. You'll be able to look at it and you'll know.
And then when you've got this humming, thriving design business ecosystem happening and you've got a really healthy client base, then like Donna was saying, the repeat business happens. You're not having to reach out to as many new prospects as before because you've got that repeat business. And then you can start doing official referral programs as well, which is another thing we cover in the academy, of how to do that and how to reach out to people and things to say to make it happen, and the different kind of models you can have within that. So there's so many options, but it is about baby steps and just being brave and putting yourself out there. And
yes, be brave. You can do this. And make sure that you let us know if you have any more podcast topics that you'd like us to unpack, because this has been fun and you never know, it might be very, very soon. We get excited when we get a podcast topic recommendation and we're like, does it fit in our schedule? We're so excited, we'll squeeze it in straight away. So you never know. So send those in to us. We're really keen to hear about it.
Yes, absolutely. All right, you've got this.
Yeah.
Be courageous. It's scary. We all feel it. We all feel that fear. We talked about that last podcast. It can feel scary. That's okay. All right. And if you need a little bit of a boost about, feeling more courageous, go and listen to that episode. That's episode 53. All right, everybody.
Okay.
Bye. Have a beautiful week.
Bye.
Bye.